Welcome to lesson 1.4, solving systems of linear equations using the elimination method. So the goal here using the elimination method is we're going to add or subtract our two equations together to eliminate one of the variables. And then once we've done that, we'll be able to solve for the one remaining variable. And then once we have that solution, we'll put it into one of our original equations to solve for the other variable. So we'll use this as our first example. Our equations are 2x minus 3y equals 8 and 4x plus 3y equals 16. Notice that here we've got a minus 3y and a plus 3y. So if we add these two equations together, our y's are going to cancel out. We're going to eliminate our y's. So that's what we're going to do. We'll go 2x plus 4x, which gives us 6x. Our y's are going to cancel out. And then 8 plus 16 equals 24. So we get 6x equals 24, and we're just going to solve for x, divide both sides by 6. We'll get x equals 4. Once we've solved one of our variables, we can just put that solution into one of our original equations. And when we do that, we'll solve for the other variable. So we'll use the 2x minus 3y equals 8. So here we go, 2 times 4, because x was 4, so we just substitute 4 in for x. So 2 times 4 minus 3y equals 8. This can be 8 minus 3y equals 8. Remember, when that 8 goes to the other side, it's a negative. So you'll have 8 minus 8 on the other side, which just goes to 0. So minus 3y equals 0. Now, all we have to do is divide both sides by minus 3, and we already know that if you divide 0 by a number other than 0, it is going to be 0. So y equals 0. And now that's our solution. The solution for this system of linear equations is 4, 0. All right, so let's just go through those steps one more time. First step, we want to make sure that our equations are in the form of ax plus by equals c. Basically, you want your variables on one side, your constants on the other side. Once we've done that, we're going to look for the same or opposite coefficients for one of the variables. The key here is you want the number either in front of the x to be the same for both equations, or in front of y, you want that number to be the same. And sometimes what we'll have to do is we'll have to do step 3, which is, if necessary, we'll have to multiply one or both equations by a number to achieve step 2. And we'll have some examples of that as I go through it. Once we've got that, if the variable we're trying to eliminate has the same coefficient in both equations, so if they're both positive or both negative, we're going to subtract the equations. If they have opposite coefficients, so one is a positive and one is a negative, we're going to add the two equations. The goal here is to eliminate one of our variables. Once we've done that, we're left with one variable, so we're going to solve that equation and find out the solution for that variable. And then we're going to substitute that solution into one of our original equations to find the value of the other variable. All right, so I'm going to go through in this video the first two examples. So we're just going to flip over, and I had done some work here. I'm just going to get rid of this. We're going to go right to there. All right, so here we've got our two equations, x plus 2y equals 0. Our other one is x minus y equals 0. Well, we may notice that if we subtract these equations, our x's are going to be eliminated. They have the same constant in front of them, which is 1. So we're just going to subtract them. Subtract the equations. And when we do that, fun thing happens. X minus x, our x's are going to cancel right out. Then we're going to have 2y minus y. Remember, minus minus, that's going to become a positive. So we're actually going to have 3y. And that's going to be equal to 0. 0 plus, minus 0 is still going to be 0. So now all we do is we solve that equation. 3y, y is just going to go to 0 because 0 divided by 3 is 0. So there's our solution for our first variable. Now we're going to substitute y equals 0 into one of our original equations and solve for x. So let's do the second one here. X minus, instead of y, we're going to have 0 equals 0. And so x is just going to equal 0. Our solution is now going to be 0, 0. We can always check that. If we put zeros into both of our equations, 0 plus 2 times 0, which is still 0, is going to equal 0. 0 minus 0 is going to equal 0. So that is the solution for that first system. All right. I'm just going to pause the video for 1 second and set up my next one. All right, so we've got it all set up now. Our second example here, 5x plus 2y equals 5. 3x minus 4y equals minus 23. Now, we can't just simply add or subtract these two equations because we're not going to be able to get rid of a variable yet. But if we multiply the first equation by 2, then we're going to have 4y in both equations. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to just take this one right here, and we're going to multiply by 2. So then what we're left with, when we do that, 10x plus 4y equals 10. Remember, multiply both sides of your equation by 2. Otherwise, you're fundamentally changing the formula or the equation. And we still have 3x minus 4y equals minus 23 as our second one. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to add those two equations together. And that'll eliminate y. So we're going to have 13x equals 10 minus 23 is minus 13. Now we're going to solve for x. Divide both sides by 13. X equals negative 1. So we've got x equals negative 1. Now we can sub that into one of our equations to solve for y. So I'm going to use 3x minus 4y equals minus 23. I'm going to sub in minus 1 for x, so 3 times minus 1 minus 4y equals minus 23. Now, 3 times minus 1 is going to be minus 3. Minus 4y equals minus 23. That minus 3 is going to go to the other side and become a positive, so it's going to leave us with minus 4y equals minus 20. Minus 23 plus 3, that's how we get the minus 20. Now just divide both sides by minus 4, and we'll get y equals 5. So our solution for this one is going to be minus 1, 5. And we can now go and we can do a check to make sure that this is actually the solution. So if we put in minus 1 for x, then we'll get 5 times minus 1, or minus 5, plus 10, because 2 times 5 will give us 10. So minus 5 plus 10 is going to give us 5. Perfect. Worked for our first one. Let's see if it works for our second one. 3 times minus 1 will be minus 3. Minus 4 times 5 will be minus 20. So minus 20 plus minus 3 is going to be minus 23. So we found the solution for our system of linear equations. That's the end of the first video. In the second video, I'll bring you through the other examples. As always, feel free to email me or join office hours if you have any questions.